Well, there's no secret that I'm in the market for a car. And it's also no secret that I work for a Lexus dealership. So that has to play a part in this. But the thing is, I've sold my LS and I've sold my Ducati, and now I need something that can fill the void of both of those cars. So we're gonna start a series of me car shopping. And today, I'm going to compare and see which one, we'll move on to the next round, with the RCF final edition that just came to the dealership, as well as this Porsche 911 Carrera S. Sorry, Porsche 911 Carrera S. If you like this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and go check out my other channel, Performance Lexus, for more Lexus related car reviews. So to touch on a few things that need to be in my next car, I need something that's classy. I also want something that's unique. I also own a Supra, and that gets a lot of attention, and I like that it's different than everything else on the road. So my next car needs to be unique and kind of an enthusiast car. It needs to be reliable. I work for Lexus, so I'm used to reliability. I like it, cars that hold value as well, but ones that I can drive and put mileage on and not worry too much about that. It's gotta be super smooth. It's gotta be a great road trip car. I want my girlfriend to be able to drive it if she wants to take the car somewhere. So those factors are kind of how we landed on these two cars today, which, by the way, the Porsche is a 2021, the RCF is 2025. The price point is very, very similar, and they check a lot of the same boxes, and each have their own unique abilities and features. Let's take the RCF, for instance. The RCF Final Edition is so unique, I couldn't memorize all the features that comes with it. So on top of the regular RCF, this one has Takumi engine tuning. If you don't know what a Takumi is, it's a Japanese word for a master craftsman, something they take a lot of pride in. It has a Torsen limited slip differential. I love that for being able to slide around. It's got a carbon fiber roof, a carbon fiber front splitter, rear diffuser, and side skirt. And by the way, when Lexus does carbon fiber, a lot of the times it's built with the same loom or similar to the LFA, which is super unique and cool. It has an active rear wing, 19-inch BBS wheels that are unique, Brembo brakes with red calipers, triple beam LED headlights, exclusive circuit red and black ultra suede interior, which is interesting, red seatbelt, Lexus almost never does that, interior carbon trim, so we got some of that same carbon inside, ultra suede steering wheel. That's the Alcantara steering wheel, which even in the LFA world, there was only like one that had that, and there's a big story behind it. Heated and ventilated front seats, so that luxury road trip stuff. Council serial badging, an F-pedal lamp, a final edition MID startup animation, so unique, right? Not everyone's gonna have that. Launch control, that's a must. A 10.3-inch touchscreen display, blind spot monitor, parking assist, as well as the Mark Levinson sound system. Now, all that aside, let's talk about presence on the road. And seeing these two cars next to each other in this showroom, the RCF's presence is definitely that of a beast mode car. You can see the front F-Sport spindle grille. We have those really nice daytime frosted running lights, those triple beam LED headlights, and then that carbon fiber at the bottom. I don't necessarily think that the front of the RCF screams classy. I think it screams, look at me, which I'm okay with. It also has a really unique kind of bulge in the hood with that vent at the top, which I do think is actually real on the RCF, final edition at least. And when you compare that to the Porsche is definitely more subtle luxury on the front end. We have daytime running lights as well as our LED headlight stack where, those four corners light up. There's some detail in the headlamp that I didn't appreciate until seeing it in person. It says Porsche, it has some texture to the bottom. We have that plastic, it's kind of like a textured plastic bumper guard. And I heard that these are pretty cheap to replace on purpose. We got some venting for some intercoolers and stuff like that, a front-facing camera IC. A very usable frunk that you can just swipe and it pops open and it's deep enough. This one's a 992, so we have a little bit more of a cornered edge on that frunk. That is a way I learned to distinguish between the 991s. And then we have some more curvature above the headlights that kind of go off in the fender. A lot more subtle. It looks smaller versus the RCF for sure, but in a way, probably a little bit classier, a little bit more ladies and gentlemen like. But who knows if that's what I'm looking for when we have the RCF screaming, hey, look at me, I got a V8. And it does. Okay, looking at the side profile of the RCF, this is how you can tell it's not just a regular RC. A big part is these unique wheels. They're not quite chrome and they're not quite black, they're an in-between. We have a very bright brake caliper with the F badge, and when I touch it, it's not even a sticker, that is clear-coated. A really unique brake setup with the slats, and a 19-inch, they're Michelin Pilot Sports, and they're 255/35 R19s in the front. What makes you know that it's an F car, and not just the brakes and tires, is the F badge on the side with that true aggressive vent. We saw that all the way going back to the ISF. We also have that carbon fiber lip running down the side. Very important you don't step on that. I remember that from the LC that we did. And with the windows down, this is a new thing I'm doing, is I really like that you can see the red from the outside. So you can see that seatbelt sitting there. If it's across your body, you can see it. You have that two-tone interior. And then at the back, we have a 275/35 R19 Michelin as well on the back. As we get to the very back, we have an active wing, which is popped up right now because I think it looks amazing when it's popped up. We have an LED taillight setup. That looks super sharp. It definitely tells you it's a Lexus. That's one of those things. The classic quad exhaust, super timeless. I've always loved it. I'm glad that every F car has it. And then we also have our carbon fiber rear diffuser, and of course the big RCF badge in the back. So maybe what I'm saying with the RCF is maybe this is the flashy choice. But let's see what the Porsche is. Over to the 911. We have, well, let's talk about the side profile. First thing you notice is the front gas tank. Again, super different, super cool, I love that. We have a 20-inch front, I think it's a 245/35/20 with red brake calipers as well as a pretty decent sized brake in the Carrera S. I know that if you go up to the GTS or, above, you get a much bigger carbon ceramic brake, where that would kind of maybe start to defeat the purpose of like the low maintenance costs. I'm not sure, that's just what I think. And also this one has the 5 bolts instead of that center lock. Again, just to keep it a little bit more maintenance. Also, I should mention the color of these two cars. This one, I hope it shows up on camera, is a little bit more green. I think it's called aventurine green. At nighttime, it looks gray. In the sunlight, it looks green. And it's got a very nice metallic sort of shimmer to it. We have flush door handles that pop out when you have the key with you, and a very big back end. So I don't know what angle you've ever looked at one of these 911s, almost fell, but as it gets to the back, it just gets wider and wider and wider. In fact, these rear tires stick out a lot from the body. You can see them in the mirrors almost. And speaking of big back tires, the size of these puppies is a 305/30/21. So that means not only are they a lot wider in the back, they're also taller as well. They have a bigger diameter. And of course, still a big brake. As far as the rear end is concerned, this is probably my favorite angle of this car, is we have a super sleek Porsche back end with a taillight that goes left to right and looks super, super sharp when it's on, and I'll show you that. The 911 badge, which every 911 can be different because you can have Carrera S back there, you can have a few other things. We just have some textured sort of plastics around the exhaust and at the lower portion, just to protect it. And it's not done there because this piece is also an active wing, but not necessarily for downforce, but to open up and just feed all that air into that twin turbo flat 6 intercooled engine. This does seem like the classier choice in terms of exterior styling. But let's talk about the insides a little bit. Okay, so getting in the RCF, I've been with Lexus for like 10 years, and this might be the sportiest interior of any car, including the track edition ones of the RCF that came out, that I've been in. Like this Alcantara is mind-blowing. It's got some great texture to it. It's super comfy, and the grip is amazing. The shifter has Alcantara, Ultra Suede is what Lexus has branded it. The seats, I know I'm wearing a suit right now, so it might be different if I was wearing like leather pants or something, but it's got me so glued to this chair with the suede. Even the armrest has it. The two-tone looks great. It's very sporty. This is a very sporty and still pretty comfy interior. I'm very surprised to see the cooled seat function. A lot of times with a suede seat like this, it's hard to do that, so Lexus has done it, which is really nice. The climate controls and stuff like that are the same as any RCFs growing up, but I do like the red detail in the carbon fiber in here. I like that it's a numbered car, so this one is, 146 of 200 made, so that means there's 200 of these things around. Classic Lexus infotainment system, super easy to use. We have a true speedometer and then a digital gauge cluster for everything else. And to start it, we have the roar of that V8 engine and the final edition screen. And that might be unique enough in 2025. Like to have a V8, a naturally aspirated V8, that is rare. And my LS did have the V8. That was one of the reasons I was hanging on to it for so long. So I think this is in the running. It's got good space, no sunroof, but the Porsche doesn't have a sunroof in that spec either. So let's hop in that one and see. Okay, so now time for the Porsche. So with this greenish exterior, we have a really nice light beige interior. To me, this color combo just screams old money vibes. And that right now for me is killer. I love that. I think it's so exciting to have, you know, that kind of vibe in my life right now. It definitely is lower than the RCF. Getting into this one right after the RCF, it is for sure lower. I saw on the spec sheet of this one, it has the 10mm lower suspension package. But enough of that. We have a very open concept and very open front seating here. The seats themselves are super comfy. These are the 14-way sort of touring seats that Porsche offers as an upgrade. The thigh extension is probably one of the best I've ever been in, even comparing it to things like the LS, the S-Class Mercedes. I'm 6'1", it's going like way under my knee, and I love that. The cooled seats are better than any new car that I've driven, where I can actually feel them very powerfully in there. The seating position, it's a Porsche 911, so we're really low. We have a really big windshield. It is definitely oriented as a driver car, which is super exciting. Also, this new 992 dash is great. We have a digital on both sides of the tach. The tach itself is analog. The speedometer is digital. And you can kind of customize them a little bit. So you can have your map on the side if you want. You could have your G-force meter. I like that you can just change drive modes on the steering wheel itself and then press a little NOS button to overboost the engine, and like, it's called passing mode, I think. It downshifts, it overboosts, it gets rowdy all in the press of a button. I love that. It's PDK, so it's automatic, which will check my girlfriend's box to be able to make sure she can drive it. And it's kind of a really modern setup for that center console. And then we have some quick buttons here. We have our exhaust, we have our, you know, suspension if you're in normal mode. A little bit of storage for the phone. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay, which is important for those road trips. And I do like, to start it, it's the classic left ignition switch. And we'll see if it's warmed up enough already to open up those valves. It's got wet mode, it's got normal mode, it's got sport mode, it's got all these things. And it's got that active wing. Oh, and it's so exotic sounding. Oh, that is good. That is a nice car. This is gonna be tight. Let's talk about some specs. Well, when we get down to the specs of these two cars, they sort of start to go down two different crossroads. The RCF has 475-ish horsepower to that Takumi-tuned V8, of course the rear-wheel drive platform, but it weighs 500 pounds more than the 911. Now the 911's weight is all towards the back of the vehicle, which means the handling is very light and precise, and that's sort of what 911 has been known for over the years. And this flat 3-liter twin-turbo 6-cylinder has a lot of potential. It's 435 horsepower-ish, but can be tuned to be into the 600s for just a couple $1,000s. Now, I don't know what that does to reliability, so I probably wouldn't do it myself, but it does have the potential. With the RCF, you know, this is kind of what you get with this V8. The 0 to 60 time. In the Porsche, the 0 to 60 is like 3 seconds, which is unbelievable with that launch control. And this is a rear-wheel drive platform. The RCF is like a second slower than that, so it's like 4 seconds. And the quarter-mile times are pretty comparable as well. Sorry, comparable to that spread. In fact, the 911 does a quarter mile in very close to what my Ducati did. And I didn't know that until I started to research these cars. Yes, I see them on the road all the time, but I thought that it was just for the name brand, just for the name Porsche. I didn't realize that they actually are fun to drive like that. So the question is, which one of these cars goes on to the next level? And remember, I work for Lexus, so Lexus has the bias already. But I think in this case, I think after today, the Porsche is going to check more boxes. It's a little more exotic. It's got that old money vibe. It's fast like my Ducati. It's got the road trip capability like my LS, and it's exotic. like the Ducati, and that's what's gonna be missing in my day-to-day life. Technically, the RCF for a few year newer car that there's only gonna be so many of might be financially the better choice, but I gotta give this one to the 911, especially because I've driven both, and they both drive amazing, by the way. The RCF with the bouncing off that rev limiter, you saw that in one of my performance Lexus videos. That one just winds up and has this amazing sounding V8. The Porsche though is rowdy and light and comfortable. And I think that could be the next perfect car for me. If you like this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe for more content related to this. Go in the comment section, let me know which one you would have chosen, and maybe put some ideas in there for the next video, which, you know, maybe the RCF didn't make it, but maybe something like the LC 500 could be a little more up my alley. We'll find out in the next video.